Hello and welcome to the Dalmatian Language. My name is Mauricio Carvalho and this is the MOPC Linguistics channel. On this video, I'm going to talk about an extinct Romance language, a Latin-derived language that was spoken until the 19th century in Croatia, that is in Eastern Europe, not far from Italy, but still in a country that is Slavic-speaking now. And many claim that Dalmatian, many think to this day that Dalmatian could be a missing link between the Western European, Italian type Romance languages and the Romanian language, which is the Eastern European language spoken deep in Eastern Europe, in Romania and Moldova. We're going to analyze that claim here. Is the Dalmatian really this missing link? Maybe Dalmatian was a last remnant of once large continuum of languages spanning between Italy and Romania, therefore giving us a evolutionary continuum between these languages, anything that explains why Romanian is so different, how the Romanian differs from Western European languages. Dalmatian is actually two languages that we know of. The main dialect probably became extinct over 300 or 400 years ago, was Ragusan. The Ragusan dialect was spoken in the central area of Dalmatia. There's a coastal area of what is now Croatia on the Adriatic Sea. And that included the capital of the Ragusan Republic, which is now known as the city of Dubrovnik. In Croatian, the city is known as Dubrovnik. In Italian, it was known as Ragusa. This region was mostly Latin-speaking until recent times, but over time, first the Dalmatian language, the various dialects that must have existed along Croatia, maybe even in the interior, they were replaced by, first Croatian and the Slavic languages, which migrated from what is now Poland in early medieval times, around the year 700. They reached the Balkans and settled along Croatia, what is now Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, Bulgaria, pushing the Albanians further south, and of course, they were also Latinized, Italianized on the coast. Many of the coastal Latin-speaking Dalmatians probably reverted to speaking Venetian, the language of Venice, because the Adriatic Sea was dominated by Venice. The Venetian Republic, was a main geopolitical force, commercial force in the Adriatic. And the speakers of Dalmatian, they ended up acquiring the Venetian language, Veneto language. And of course, later on, probably along the way, as standard Italian became more and more prevalent, also standard literary Italian, the language that we know as Italian today, which is based on the Tuscan dialect and was, since late medieval times, adopted as a common literary language by all Italian people. Dalmatians, I don't know how Italian they felt, but probably they did feel a little Italian. They did speak Latin language and not a Slavic language. So, of course, the region that is now Croatia, including Dalmatia, was absorbed by the Austrians. So they were under a German-speaking empire, a German-speaking culture for many, many years, until finally Croatia, after First World War ended in 1918, the Austrian Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, was dismantled, and everything down there in Dalmatia became Croatian, along with Slavonia, and the Zagreb region became Croatia. That's a separate story. I'm going to talk about this Balcanic history, perhaps with a little bit more depth, a little bit more in depth in our future videos about other Balkanic languages. But now let's move on to the other dialect besides Ragusan, which was the main dialect spoken around Dubrovnik in the central Dalmatian coast. We had, of course, the Veljoto dialect. Veljoto spoken perhaps not only in the island of Velja, which is now known as the island of Krk in Croatia, in the Adriatic, but also probably in other islands, and even maybe on the mainland, was a northern dialect of Dalmatian. Those languages are pretty different. We have very little information about the Ragusan dialect. But the few words that we do know are quite different from what we know from the Velioto dialect. On this video, we're going to talk about the Velioto dialect, which was studied with relative depth in the 1800s, when actually they found the last speaker around the 1880s. They found one last speaker of Dalmatian, and they also found a few remnants of like a few letters and writings of a few linguists and priests who had translated some material into Dalmatian to preach the gospel and to Christianize. They were already Christian, of course, but to practice the Christian Catholic religion in the region. So some stuff was translated into the local language by priests. Some travelers along the region and other people had written a few notes on the local language. But essentially most of what we know comes from late 1800s, when they found some guy named Antonio Udina, whose Dalmatian name was actually Toni Udaina. And this guy he was already in his 70s, but he was the only person known to have spoken Dalmatian, still to be alive at the time. He remembers learning it at home from his parents, who were Dalmatians in the island of Velia, on the island of Velia, when he was a kid. But later on he moved to elsewhere in Italy and elsewhere in all over Europe, and he never spoke it again, because already back when he was a kid in the 1820s, the language was pretty much extinct. So they found this guy, and some linguist extracted some of his knowledge, and then about a year later, he died doing a construction accident. He was already old. He died very soon after the research was conducted, and that's it. The language became extinct on actually June 10th, 1898. It was in the 1890s that he was contacted, and he died there just a year after having been consulted and having been essentially the only way we know a little bit more about this extremely interesting language and how interesting it is. It is very interesting. Take a look at the features of the Dalmatian language, which place it not exactly in the Romanian branch, but not exactly on the Western Europe. I say it's closer to the Italian branch. Overall, it is far closer. I'll give you an advance, a spoiler, as they say. That was essentially my conclusion, is that Dalmatian is actually far closer to the Italian languages than it is to Romanian. There's almost nothing in Dalmatian. A few things do. A few things exist in Dalmatian that remind us of Romanian and not Italian and Western European languages overall. But I say most of it place it safely within an Eastern, a little bit stranger dialect of the Northern Italian languages, along with Venetian, along with Lombard, along with certain aspects of Friolan and the Romansh language of Switzerland, and the Ladin language of Northern Italy as well, a few other Northern European, Northern Italian dialects. As we can see here in my evolutionary tree for the Latin languages, I put Dalmatian as an early offshoot from the Italian branch of languages, usually closer to Northern Italian. My source is this, I think it's the only book available. There are two books known to exist about Dalmatian. One is a German book known as Die alten Sprachreste von der Sprache von Velia. Die alten Sprachreste is the name. I never found that book even in digital format. If you have that book, either in print or as a digital file, please send it to me. Okay, I will even pay for it if you have to send a physical copy of the book for me. It's an old book. Probably there's no copyright to it. So if you have a digital file, you can email it to me. I tried to find it for years and I never found it. Many online bookstores claim to have it, but it's never in stock. So even the printed copy is not available. I can't find it. And there's this other book, Dialetologia Italiana, l'antico dialetto di Velia. And on this book, it's about 100 pages or so, they describe what is the Dalmatian language. Very obscure book, like in the 19th century, they didn't have much of a visual layout scheme for a book on languages. They were a lot of block of very dense, disorganized text that's hard to read. Fortunately, I speak Italian fluently, so this is no problem. Let's go to the language itself. It's one of the main features of Dalmatian is the extreme, perhaps the most outstanding features of Dalmatian overall, is a evolutionary phonetic feature of extreme diphthongization. Many simple vowels became diphthongs in Dalmatian. Many diphthongs that don't exist anywhere else. Some of them remind us of the Romanian diphthong, especially the wa diphthong. So we have in Romanian, if you know, for example, nocte, the Latin word nocte, which meant night, which in Italian became notte, and in Spanish became noche. In Romanian it became nuat. In Romanian it became nuapte, and in Dalmatian it's also nuapt. So that's one feature, that this wa diphthong is something that only exists in Dalmatian and in the various Romanian languages. Romanian is only the Romanian language continuum contains not only Romanian but also contains Romanian, the standard literary Romania of Romania and Moldova, but it also contains Aromanian, which is spoken in Macedonia and parts of Albania and Greece, which is Aromanian with an A in the beginning, Aromanian. And the Megleno Romanian, which is also a leftover of Romanian, probably from a greater language that used to exist before the Slavs transformed that into all like Serbians and Bulgarians. And there's also the Istrioto Romanian, which is spoken near, the Istrioto Romanian is spoken near the island of Kirk, where Dalmatian was spoken, but it has nothing to do with Dalmatian. The Istrioto Romanian, the Istriot language of the Istria Peninsula in Croatia, in the essentially north of Dalmatia, is an offshoot of Romania that reached the region probably around the 1500s. There were some immigrants brought in probably by the Venetians or maybe the Austrians on some construction work project there, and they became a permanent residents of the peninsula of Istria in what is now Croatia around that time. But they're not Dalmatian. But today there's only about 500 people speaking Istriot Romanian, which is perhaps the most endangered language in Europe. The language with the lowest number of speakers in Europe is the Istriotic Romanian language, which is spoken just north of the island of Kirk. So we have here like the Italian word fede, faith, is faida in Dalmatian. The word uomo, which is already a diphthong in Italian, from Latin homine or homo, became iomno in Dalmatian. Carne became cuorno, which is meat. Lingua became luanga, which means language or tongue. In Romanian we have limba. Aqua is iaqua. Some sources give it as a V sound, iaqva, but I think it's iaqua. In Romanian, this qua conjunction became pa. So quattro became patru, and aqua became appa. That phenomenon never happened in Dalmatian. The word for eye, which is oculo in late Latin, in Italian is occhio, and in Dalmatian it's waclo. Okay, in Romanian it's occhi. So you see there aren't that many close Romanian features, at least not there. Let's see something else. There's a loss of geminated consonants, including the R, which is typically preserved in most Latin languages, but North Italian languages lost it. And that includes Romanian. Romanian and Northern Italian languages and Dalmatian are the only Latin languages that lost the difference between a single R and a double R. So even in Portuguese we have cara and terra. We have in Italian there is cera and terra. You trill a little bit more. The spelling preserves the difference and pronunciation still preserves the difference. Northern Italian languages like Piedmontese, Lombard, Venetian, lost it. Many Northern Italians lost the distinction. And that includes also Dalmatian and includes Romanian, where the word for terra became tsara. Tsara in Dalmatian it's tiara, tiara, with a single R. At least in one case, there was a conflation between be and V. It appears that the node V became a B in the verb to want. The verb that is in Italian volere became in Dalmatian. There are several sources give different verbs, because probably Dalmatian itself had a lot of dialects too, and from the several sources give different varieties. Some say vular, some say bular, some say bla, or blaira, or vuler. But in Romanian, there is vrea. So there is no parallel there. But it's funny that the verb volere, the verb, the late Latin verb volere from Italian comes, actually yields bla or blaire. Sounds very different, almost unrecognizable, but it's the same source. What happens is similar to Romanian is that the B and the L, the V and the L join together. There was a loss of the first syllable. So instead of volere, you had vlere, and then vlaire, and then blaire. And in Romanian, you had volere, and volea, and vlea, and then vrea. So there was a similar phenomenon to Romanian there. Maybe some closer ancestry, slightly closer ancestry. The evolution of the ke, ki, and ge, gi groups is very ambiguous. Sometimes it evolves into che, sometimes che, chi, je, gi, which is typically the Italian and the Romanian way. Sometimes they were preserved as hard consonants, as ke, ki, and ge, gi, especially at the end of the word where there's no consonant, and sometimes where the vowel changed from e to a, which is very interesting because that vowel shift must have happened before the palatalization of che, chi happened, ke to ki, because the palatalization was triggered by the vowels e and e. If the vowel shift in ancient Dalmatian happened before the palatalization, I mean, the vowel change was very old. Because palatalization is very old. Probably late Latin already said che and chi to a certain degree. Already by the 400s, 500s after Christ. So it's interesting. Take a look here. Quinque in Latin gives us chink. Chink in Dalmatian, cinque in Italian, and cinci in Romanian. Centum gives us both cient and cin. So there was a third option, which is like what happens in French and Portuguese and Catalan and partly Spanish, which is the transformation of che, chi into se, si. The word cento becomes cien in Spanish, cem in Portuguese, cent in French. The che, chi becomes an S sound. That happens also in Dalmatian, which is unique for a language that's far east. But it's common to some Northern Italian languages. There are Northern Italian languages who have some languages say chink and some languages say sink for five. Maybe there was a transition in Northern Italy that produced the chi to si change. But in Northern Italy and in Dalmatian, that process was never completed. Perhaps because Standard Italian kept on feeding those parallel peripheral languages with Standard Italian chi and che sounds. I don't know. Decem, which is 10, becomes dic in Romanian. Actually, in Dalmatian, dic, which is a hard sound. There's no parallel there, so probably that was very old. Dieci and in Italian, and zeci in Romanian. Tacere, which is to be silent, becomes tacare. That's one of the examples that I told you. The e becomes a. And therefore the C remains a K sound, remains a K sound, remains a vowel sound. Tacare. But in Italian we have tacere, and in Romanian we have tacere as well. Cruce becomes krauk, the cross. Cruce in Italian and cruce in Romanian. Cielo, coilo, which is cielo in late Latin, the word for sky, is either sil or chill. Sil, chill. Chill, sil. So that's one of the cases where S is, the shift to S sound, the sibilantization was complete, but optional. Cielo in Italian and cer in Romanian. Plangere, which is to cry, to weep, becomes interesting. Plungere, Here there was a loss of the vowel, and the G sound remained a G. Plungere, not plungere. Plungere. In Italian, you have piangere. And in Romanian, you have plenge. Plenge. Regina, the queen, have Regina. Regina in Dalmatian, but Regina and Regina in Italian and in Romanian. One different feature from Romanian is that Dalmatian, like Italian and all Western European language, have the definite article before the noun as a separate word. Romanian has an article that is at the end of the noun or the noun phrase. If the adjective is followed if the noun is followed by an adjective, the article is appended to the adjective, not the noun. So it's like whatever the Romanian situation is, Dalmatian doesn't have anything like it. The article is exactly like in Italian, la casa, the house, la casa. In Romanian, we have casa, which is house, and casa, which is the house. Tiemp, el tiemp, the time. Il tempo in Italian. But in Romanian, we have timp, which is time, timpul, the time. We have the tel preposition, the tel infix. When we add the preposition in to a definite article, we don't say in el tiemp, which is in the time. We don't say in el tiempo, we say in tel tiemp. There is a very northern Italian feature. Most of you probably don't know northern Italian language like Venetian, Piedmontese, and a few others, but those languages have that feature too. You don't say in el, you say in tel. In the. Romanian has something that is parallel to that, but with the indefinite article. When you use the in with the indefinite article un or o, which is the masculine and feminine indefinite article, the in changes to intre. So you don't say in una, in un timp, in a time. You say intrum timp. You don't say in o casa, which is in a house. You say intro casa. So there is a strange addition that you have to put between the preposition and the articles in Romanian as well, but in Romanian only for the indefinite article, in Northern Italian and Dalmatian only for the definite article. There's a strange suffixation that has no parallel elsewhere that I remember of, even though there's something. I remember learning some Latin languages from some region in Italy that did have something similar to this, which is this me and se suffix to the verb. I think Piedmontese has something like this, where some verbs are suffixed with a me and a se. The book that I read, that old Italian book that I read, claims to a probable Albanian influence. If anyone knows what that is about, I don't know Albanian that much. Does Albanian have anything like it? So the verb stare in Latin and Italian becomes stuarme. This me in the end is not a pronoun. It probably evolved from a pronoun. It was suffixed to the verb infinitive for no reason. Intrare, which is to enter, becomes entruarme. Why the me? Pensuarme and restituarme. And sometimes it's mese, spogliarmese, which is spogliare. Interesting feature registered in the books. No explanation, no idea what happens. These suffixes have no meaning at all. Credere, redro, pentisuarse. Those infinitives are used as nouns in Dalmatian, just like Romanian. In Romanian, the long infinitive with re in the end is used in modern Romanian as typically a way to form nouns from a bare infinitive without the re. So in Romanian, like crede is to believe, and credere is the belief, the action of believing, the state of believing something. That's a very Romanian feature. That is one of the features, even though Western European languages also do that. You have a few verbs that can be used, andare or andar, as a noun. The pronouns in Dalmatians are you, me, te, yal is he, and yala is she, and him and her are el or se if object. Nu is us. The object form I couldn't find it, but I think it's ne. Vu, object ve. Yali, yale is they, them. They masculine and they feminine. An interesting feature that links Dalmatian with actually the Iberian languages like Spanish and Portuguese is I found it in two parts of the sample hidden in the language. Nobody noticed it. But they say con Mike, which is with me, which reminds of the comigo in Spanish, which is the reproduction of con and the Latin mecum. In Latin, the word with me was mecum, me with. And in Spanish and Portuguese, they repeated the with before the mecum, so you have com mecum, a double com, a double preposition usage. They have con Mike and con taik in Dalmatian. Con Mike and talk with me and with you, which is similar to Spanish conmigo and contigo, with me and with you, or Portuguese comigo e contigo. Italian doesn't have it. Northern Italian language don't have it. Romanian doesn't have it. French languages don't have it. Only Dalmatian has this, and Spanish and Portuguese, along with Galician and a few other. Even Catalan doesn't have it. So it's a very interesting. I don't know if the other persons had it, like consig, consaik, or connaik, or connais for with us, connaiscu. I don't know if the other forms had it, but conmaik and contaik I was able to find it. And it seems that nobody had noticed this. It was lost in the big samples of text, but it's a certainty there. I really know what I'm talking about. The numbers in Croatian are join, doi, tra, quater, cinc, si, siapto, voat, nu, and dik. The numbers from 11 on are quite unique. They're not like Romanian, and they're not that much like Western European languages either. 11 is jonco, as opposed to French onze, Spanish once, Portuguese onze, Italian undici. Then have dotco, tredco, quattorco, or dic quater, cionco, or dic cinc, dic sis, dic siapto, dic idapto, dic nu, and venx. 20 is venx. Okay, compare that with Romanian. You're going to see that there's nothing like it. Romanian creates these numbers by saying like 6 above 10. 6 spre 10. 6 super 10. 6 super 10. Which is a Slavic logic. They use Latin languages, but with a Slavic construction in Romania. The ordinal numbers are primo, the first, sequando, trato, quarto, cincto, sisto, siaptimo, voatvo, nufto, dicto. Let's compare the vocabulary to actually know whether vocabulary in general in Dalmatian comes closer to Italian and Romanian. Let's take a good sample here. Muart is death. In Italian we have morte, in Romanian we have moarte. So that one is closer to Romanian, right? Tiara, which is land or earth. Tiara, terra, or in Romanian tara, țara, or pământ. So that is a little closer to Romanian also. But iuncora, ancora, inca, that's more like Italian. Iuncora, ancora means still. That still hasn't happened. He hasn't arrived yet. He still hasn't arrived. Manciur, mangiare, menca. One interesting feature of the verb mangiare or manciur in Dalmatian is that its present conjugation is like that of Romanian. That is an undoubtedly pro-Romanian argument there, where manciur in the present, they say el, yal, manaica. They put this extra syllable between the N and the C. So instead of mancha or manci, is manaice. In Romania, they say mananca. Mananca. They say manca. Manca is to eat. But he eats is yel mananca. And in Dalmatian, we have manciur and yel manaica. Very pro-Romanian. Italian language that I know of, no other language other than Romanian or Dalmatian have that specific way of conjugating this verb, which stems from the old Latin verb manducare, mandicare, which is an ancient vulgar Latin word for to chew on food. The verb to go is zer, which is an evolution from old, what is probably old Dalmatian yer. Yer became zer, zer, zer. It comes from the Latin verb ire. It comes from ire. Ire becomes iere, iere, ier, zer. In Italian, we don't have the verb ire. We would have ir in Spanish and Portuguese. And also the future of the verb to go in French is ira. J'irai, tu iras, nous irons. Also based on that. When in Sicilian and in Napolitan and in Calabrian, in southern Italy, we do have the verb ire. Ire still exists. Iamo, iate, still exists as a verb. But in standard Italian, that doesn't exist. The verb ire disappeared. They have andare. And in Romanian, you have merge, from Old Latin mergere, which means to sink, to dive. So no relation there to Italian or Romanian. Actually, there's a relation to Latin, of course, and to Southern Italian languages and the Iberian language, Spanish and Portuguese. Pedoclo, very conservative word for lice, louse. Pidocchio in Italian and paduca in Romanian. Sapere is a verb to know, just like Italian sapere and Spanish saber and French savoir. But in Romanian they use sti, which comes from the old verb scire, scire in Latin, which was the standard Latin word for knowing. The verb sapere in Latin originally meant to taste something. That's why we have sapore in Italian, flavor. Overall, it came to mean know, came to be associated with knowledge, because if you taste something or you go through an experience, you know something. But the verb to know was scire, which is preserved only in Romanian and in Sardinian. I have a video on Sardinian here in my channel. Please watch it. Sardinian is the most conservative of all Romance languages. It preserves features not found in Dalmatian, not found in Romanian, not found in any continental Italian language. Sardinian is a unique development that doesn't belong to any branch of the Latin family. So take a look at my video of Sardinian. Prendar, to take, prendere, but in Romanian that's lua. But there's also prinde. They have lua, which is to take, but prinde as well. From Latin levare, luar. Mauro is big. That's similar to Romanian mare, but not like grande. Maybe it comes from magno in Latin, which is also similar to manno in Sardinian. Manno is big in Sardinian, from Latin magno, magno. Frutre is brother, fratre in Italian, frate in Romanian. Seraur is a sister, that's a sorella in Italian, and suara in Romanian. Pasc is a fish. Here's an example of an old C that preserved its old K sound. Pescis, pescis in Latin. Pescis gave us pasc in Dalmatian, but pesce in Italian and peste in Romanian. Romanian, it didn't go to sce, but it did go to te sound, a very strange evolution. I think it's half conservative. It almost counts as preserving its stop value. Juv is an egg. Uovo in Italian. O in Romanian. Also, that's the same word for egg in Catalan. Buca, like boca, which is mouth. Very different from gura, which comes from gola, which meant throat in Latin. Now it means mouth in Romanian. Quarp. Here's a diphthongization that didn't take place in Romanian. Quarp is not quarpu. Quarp in Romanian, it's corp. Corp. I think it's a modern import. Romanian must have imported that in the couple hundred years when it underwent a Latinization effort, an artificial Latinization effort, but I'm not sure. Body. Loic is light. Luce, in Romanian, such word doesn't exist. It's lumina, a vaguely related word. Fuc is fire. Fuoco in Italian, and fuc, and foc in Romanian. Fiaur is a flower. An interesting drop of the L in the beginning. So we should have flower, but there's fiaur. In Italian, fiore, which strangely enough is masculine. And floare, a feminine word in Romanian as well. Persigot, which is a peach, comes from the word persica, persicum in Latin, which meant a Persian fruit, Persia, fruit from Persia. Pesca which has the same origin from ancient Latin persica, and piersica, which is very conservative in Romanian. Vieclo is old, vecchio, and veche in Romanian, old. Finiastra is window, finestra and fereastra. Bisogne, bisogno, trebuie. The trebuie is a Slavic word in Romanian, means necessity. Bisogno is there is a need also in both Dalmatian and Italian, bisogno. Floim is a river, fiume in Italian, and rau. There is no related word in Romanian. The rau of Romanian has to do with rio in Spanish and rio in Portuguese, the word for river, but not with fiume. Lick is milk. Very interesting word. You expected what? Laite or lacte, but it's lick. Latte in Italian and lapte in Romanian. Yamna is a soul. Amina, anima, and anima. In Romanian, the word anima came to mean the heart. Medesem is the same, which is like Italian medesimo, one of the words for same in Italian, the other one being stesso. I didn't find that one in Dalmatian, but I did find medesem, completely different from aceaș in Romanian. Palaura, parola, word for word. In Romanian, such word doesn't exist. It's cuvent, which comes from Latin conventum, which is a gathering of people to talk, a conventum. Pi or pici is the foot, which is picior in Romanian. Plovaia is rain, pioggia, ploaia. Scienza is without, the preposition without, senza, but completely different from Romanian fara. Spiac, specchio. In Romanian, have oglinda, which is a Slavic word. Jaun, young. Giovane, and in Romanian, tenar. Iongla is a fingernail. Unghia in Italian, unghie in Romanian. Iuac is a needle. Ago in Italian, and ac in Romanian. Caeptare, which is related to captare in Latin, to catare, capture, like the word capture in English, is to take a look at something. Guardare in Italian, and uita in Romanian. Somno is the sleep. So you see that both Romanian and Dalmatian preserve the MN consonant cluster from Latin somnus. Somnus, in Italian there is a merger of the M with the N, have sonno, sonno, somno, somno. La cuorno che se manaica sant geluata. La cuorna che se manaica sant geluaita. La carne che se mangia è gelata, o fredda. Carne pe care se mănâncă e rece, in Romanian. That's the same word, the same sentence in Dalmatian, in Italian, and in Romanian. The meat that one eats is cold, is frozen. So you can see that the verb to be in Dalmatian is actually like sant, which is like the plural word. If the plural sant, which you expect to be they are, is actually the singular also. There's both plural and singular, means they are and he is, it is. Now let's take a look at the verb to be. The verb cite. You cite, sante, iau sant, nu saime, nu saite, iali sant. The imperfect, which we have era, ero, eri in Italian. There's a iera, iera. That's like Romanian. Romanian has the ye sound. The initial e becomes ye. We don't have era, we have iera. That's very Romanian. The perfect in Dalmatian of the verbs is constructed just like in Romanian and in Spanish, with only the verb to have. They don't alternate between using the verb to have and the verb to be, like most Italian languages do, including the northern Italian languages, like the Venetian and Piedmontese and Lombard. They don't have the alternation, which verb to have is used for transitive verbs and active verbs in general, and the verb to be is used for verbs which are passive, which are unaccusative. which have a passive subject, a subject that suffers the action, like motion verbs and jumping verbs and activity verbs and transformation verbs that typically have different auxiliary verb. In Dalmatian, only the verb to have. Jai foit, io sono stato. Já é te. Avas foit, I had been. The future is strange. The will be is fera. Fera, fero. It's accented on the fe, not the end. Even though the plural follows the same pattern as Italian and Western European languages, that has essentially the plural is the verb infinitive suffixed by the present of the verb to have. Like Italian, Spanish, French, unlike Romanian. Romanian doesn't have that. But in Dalmatian, the future is accented on the stem. Fera, ferai, feroi, furme, furte, fero. Will be. That will be. Conditional fure, would be. Sai is like a conditional, that I be. And fuas, that I were, conditional past. And the gerund is fondo, and the past participle is foit, stut. Va sempre drat per non fallu la cal. Vai sempre diritto per non fallare la strada, per non sbagliare la strada. Merge drepenente caçando greșești strada. Let's go straight ahead so you don't miss the road, so you don't get the wrong street. Va sempre, so we have siempre, which is very Western European, non-Romanian word for always. Go always ahead. Go always straight. Siempre, sempre. In Romanian, the translation doesn't include the word for always in Romanian, which is totdeauna. Completely, there's no semper in Romanian. Me credeai că te sente tot timp, că te sente mort. Că te sente mort. Me credeai că te sente mort tot timp que não te aveidait. I believed, credevo che tu sei morto tutto il tempo che non ti ho visto. Credeam că tu ești mort tot timpul în care nu te-am văzut. I believe I thought you were dead. I believed you were dead all the time that I didn't see you. The whole time I didn't see you. Questa casa sunt più bella de quell'altra. Questa casa più bella di quell'altra. Acesta casa este mai frumoasă decât aceea. This house is more beautiful than that one. La cal sunt segura de dai e de noite. La strada è sicura di giorno e di notte. La strada este sigura ziua și noaptea. La sudair pesla dal fruant. Il sudore goccia dalla fronte. Sudoarea se scurge de pe frunte. The sweat is dripping on your forehead. Nu puteai accapar tot co favlaie gli uomini. I couldn't understand everything that the man used to say. Eu non potevo capire tutto che gli uomini parlavano. Doorte il cap entel moir. Dice entel moir, dare il capo nel muro, a dare capo per parete. Io non manai con olio perché non hai voli. Io non manai con olio perché non hai voli. I don't eat anything because I don't want it. I have no desire for it. Eu sal sunt cold perché i mias sunt ri. The sun is cold because the months are sad. El iat que sunt in casa sunt pelo. The cat that is in the house is small. După ce voi iate Saite, fura de la cosa. After you have left the house, after you have gone out of the house. După la plovaia, venaro il bun tiemp. After the rain will come the good weather. Here's a little phrasebook. If you want to go back in time one day, maybe you found some Dalmatian speakers, take your vacation on the beautiful coast of Dalmatia, on the beaches, and speak Bună dai, good day. Calte Sainte, how are you? You sai bine, I'm well. Cal te clamo? Ce sant ton naum? What is your name? How do they call you? Mi naum sant Mauricio. My name is Sant Piala incontrurte. Sant Piala incontrurte. It is beautiful to find you. It's beautiful to meet you. Prendai, loina dai. That's Monday. Tuesday is Mirte. Wednesday is Misedma. That's very interesting. Sedma must be week, and Misedma is the middle of the week. They use a logic that is similar to Slavic and German to say that Wednesday is the middle of the week. Thursday is Zue. Comes from Giove. In Italian, has it's very close to the Venetian word for Thursday. Friday is Vindre, venerdì. In Italian, Saturday, Suato, Domenica is Sunday. A few other words now. A dias. Later, dapu. After, dapu. Before, anink. Okay, that sounds a little Romanian, doesn't it? Morning, desmun, which is la mañana in Spanish and la mattina in Italian. Desmun. I don't know exactly how that relates. Afternoon, seara. That's just like Romanian, seara. Sera in Italian, which is also evening. Or viaspro, which is also evening. Night is noat. In Romanian, we have noapte. Please, you preco. Must be I lo prego, of Italian, prego. In Romanian, you have varog or terog, nothing to do with it. Yes is sai, and no is na. Remitioite mine. I'm sorry, you sairau. Welcome, bunvenut. Iuna potua favlar in langa dalmata. Favlur te langa inglesa. Sant calc certoin copotua. Favulare in inglesa. Is there someone here? Sant calc is here. Sant calc certoin, certuno. Sant calc certioin copotuo favular in lingua inglesa. Assistoite, help. Look out, chala. Bundesbun. Bunăseara. Just like Romanian. That sounds exactly like Romanian. But similar to Italian too. Buonasera. Buonasera in Romanian. Buonasera is Italian. Bunăseara is Romanian. Bun viaspro. Bună noite. Iuna capuo. Lasoi mansanglo. Ia fot clamor de la miliția. Dai. Stop. You say pardoit. Romanian, sunt pierdut. Sono perso. Perduto in Italian. Some say perduto. You pierdoit muboarsa. I lost my bag. You say debol. I'm sick. You domando medico. Doutor. I need a doctor. The colors are black is fosc. Like it in Catalan, the word for dark is fosc. In Portuguese, fosco means something that is slightly tainted, like a glass that's tainted with a dark color but not fully transparent. White is walb. That is like Romanian, alb, which comes from the word albus in Latin. The Italian languages and the French and Spanish languages all adopted blanco, the Germanic word blanco, bianco, blanche, branco, blanco. So that's something that it's interesting. Even though technically many Romance languages still have the word albo somewhere. For example, in Portuguese, alvo, which meant white originally, also means now like a practicing target where you shoot your gun. A round target for shooting guns and darts and arrows, alvo. Red, ros, like Italian rosso, or Romanian roche, also blue. Azul, that's very Spanish Portuguese. Zuola is yellow, green is vert, and brau is broina. The points of the compass are norte, sud, est e oeste. No surprises there. So let's take a look at a typical verb in Dalmatian also, which is a verb to go. That's an irregular verb I told you about. We can see that the verb ser is a verb zer. Differs from the other Latin. You vis, te vis, iai vis. You vis, te vi, iai vis, tu vaime, vu vaite, iali vis. That's different from Italian. Io vado, tu vai, lui vano, io andiamo, voi andate, loro vanno. And the other forms are right there. You can see zaia and zera in the future. The auxiliary verb, as I said, always the verb avur, which is avere. And here is the Dalmatian verb favlur, which is interesting on its own. Even before we take a look at the conjugation, favlur is cognate with the Spanish verb hablar and Portuguese falar. It's only related to these verbs. There's also the in Friulan, in Northern Italian language, they also have a favlar verb. From this family of words comes from the old Latin word fabulare, from fable, fabula, a way of like a speech or account, a tale. Fabulare gave the word favlar, favlur in Dalmatian. Favlar, I think it's favlar or favelar in Friulan. Even Italian itself has favelare, which is to fabulate, to converse, but it's like an archaic little used word. Italian uses parlare, it comes from Latin parabolare, speak in parable, speak in parables. So this verb is related to Spanish and Portuguese more than it is to the Romanian. Romanian, the verb to speak is vorbi, which comes from verb. And when you take a look at the conjugation, you favla, te favlai, ial favla, nu favlaime, vu favlaite, iali favla. The imperfect favlua, favlui, favlua, favlume, favlute, favlua. The perfect, the composite perfect, iai favlut. I have spoken. I favlut. Tu hai parlato. Avas favlut. I had spoken. Favlura. Accent in the vlur. I will speak. Favlurai, favlura, favlurme, favlurte, favlura. Then the other forms, a subjunctive, a conditional, so favlundo and favlut are the gerund and the past participle in itself. So the tables are there for you to appreciate. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to contact me on my email if you want to learn languages online and linguistics as well. I teach historical linguistics and modern linguistics and linguistics related to specific languages online. Contact me by email to know the conditions and if there's any vacancies still open. And get to know my dictionary, my online commercial multi-language customizable dictionary called the Intuitionary, which is the best way to acquire vocabulary in any language, and a few other things that I have on that site. And I see you then on the next video. Bye bye.